what do you wish candidates knew about compensation when applying for roles and going through this job seeking process?
I would say there's two things that are equally important. One, for the most part, there is a suspicion and an assumed suspicion of malice intent that companies are going to pay you as little as possible. And that used to be accurate. That used to actually be a thing. And we, especially in the late 90s, early 2000, the 2000 aughts, there were a lot of companies that used really negative tactic bonuses. Like managers would get a portion of how much they saved on their headcount budget. So they were incentivized to hire as low as possible. But then around 2004 is when the war of talent started, and that really awakened a lot of companies, thanks to HR people, by the way, that helped companies realize, hey, if you pay your highest performers really, really well, they will do amazing work for you. And so this is where things started to move a little bit outside of everyone just gets base, except, it's all employees get base and then managers get a little bit of bonus, to all employees starting to receive things like bonuses at all levels, as well as equity plans, because this was just a far more competitive way, one, to secure really good talent, and two, making sure that employees felt like they got rewarded for their work, which is, I know a lot of people don't believe that. But in all honesty, that's a golden principle for a lot of companies to follow, is that you give back to the employees who helped you get there. Now, of course, the split is very different. The CEOs are making 400 to 500 times as much as the people below, but, baby steps. The second one is, I just want people to understand this is not supposed to be something that causes you anxiety. The thing that's so nerve-wracking for us, and especially, like, I'll joke around when I make content saying, as experienced as I am in this, I still get nervous when a recruiter says, how much are you looking for compensation wise? There's an immediate sense of panic. I don't know, $5 billion, $300. I don't know what is the right number for me to say. But the most important thing is that the company has no anxiety whatsoever, and they're just looking for essentially a piece of data to put it in another piece of data. So there's really no wrong you can do. Like, this whole thought process that they're going to lowball you if you go too low, the company can't, because it's bound by its own internal philosophy. Or what if you price yourself out of a job? That's okay. That means that the role is going to be paid for. It didn't meet your qualifications anyway. And so I just want to remove the stigma and the anxiety of this element of the conversation.
Helen, before we move on, I just want to touch on that a bit, about how that you spoke about these myths in the early 2000s of how people were uh, 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 managers were rewarded for decreasing their spend when it came to compensation in their teams. And we saw this shift of people paying people worth their value, to get more out of them. We had this massive hiring trend 2019, 2020. How has that shifted over the last 4 to 5 years, where we've got mass amounts of people sitting in the job market for a very small, limited amount of roles?
Oh man, it has been, as a employment and data geek, the 2020 to 2023 has been absolutely phenomenal. Like, we all lived through history, like a huge momentous event. And even though I think none of us would want to do it again, like, there's no, you can't help but kind of see the silver lining in the fact that it did disrupt a lot of things that I think needed disruption. I think one of the biggest positives to this is the idea that people for the first time got opportunities they never had access to with the advent of remote work. So all of a sudden, I also experienced it, where I decided I was leaving work full time. I was going to open up a consultancy. I don't know if both of you are familiar, but Netflix has a very open communication policy regarding their compensation. They're like, we will pay everyone twice their market worth, because that's how much you're worth. But then, like, they don't do performance improvement plans. Like, then you just get managed out if they think it's time to go. But it's brilliant, because no Netflix employee wants to resign, because no company is going to be able to keep up with that. And there have been companies I've worked for that say, we don't try to recruit at Netflix, because it's just going to be a waste of time. Once you get to the offer phase, they're like, I can't possibly we're like, we're breaking our back here. And they're like, it's 40% less below what I make now. But Netflix contacted me, and that gave me pause to stop consulting, because they're based in California, but they're like, we're fully remote now. We think, you have great experience from Spotify, similar business unit group. So that was sort of the opportunity that people were getting for the first time. Like, it wasn't just the Silicon Valley engineers that had
Mm-hmm.
access to this really high pay. All of a sudden, everyone else did. And I think that was great, that it sort of helped drive the conversation. I think now we're seeing the downside of the pendulum, because people who did get access to that now think that all these other companies are lowballing them or underpaying them or undervaluing them, where it's just they don't have the same resources that a Netflix or a Google can give you.
Very interesting. I think we need to talk more about that, about not everybody has the same pockets.